This is Abnormal Entertainment.
2, 3, 4. Walked into the tunnel just to find the light. Hunted for old demons, looking for a fight. Looked up at the stars, seemed to go forever. There must be a way, it all fits together. Fell into the quicksand, held on to the vines. Never could quite color, stay within the lines. Feels like I have wings, I can fly wherever. This is just a way, it all fits together. Finally saw the world through rose-colored glasses. Gonna share my journey to small and large masses. Give up on my life, no sir, me never. This is how I put it together. This is how I put it together. This is how I put it together.
Hey everybody, this is Daniel Garza, and welcome to another episode of Put It Together. I'd like to start as usual with thanking my producer, Mr. Kevin Moyers, for all his help and support. Thank you, sir. Inviting everybody to check us out at abnormalentertainment.com. We can see all the shows on the network. Follow me on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, and YouTube at Little Mexican or I am Daniel G. Garza. You can find everything that's going on in my life, in the programs and the shows. Go check it out. And remember that I update the page, the Put It Together page often, so you'll get updates on our guests, what they're doing now, what they're up to, and anything we talk about here on the show. Today I'm really excited because I have a guest all the way from around the world, from the other side, Mr. Stephen Hart. Hi, Stephen.
Hey, how you doing?
I'm doing well. How are you, sir?
Yeah, I'm good.
Thank you for, you're in Australia, correct?
London.
London.
Yeah.
What time is it out there right now?
It is 7:30 p.m.
So he's in the PM and I'm at 11:30 a.m. So
Yeah.
you're about going to get ready to bed and I'm just starting my day up.
Yeah.
For some reason I thought Australia, but no, you're in London. How are you? What's going on in your life?
I'm good. I'm busy, but life's good. You know, we've had some amazing weather in London, which is quite different for us. So, just been taking advantage of the sunshine.
And you just came back. We'll talk about it in a minute. You came back from Amsterdam?
Yeah, I was in Amsterdam for a couple of days as well. So yeah, just back from there.
That is so cool. But we're kind of short on time because I'll tell everybody we're going between Skype and Zoom and we couldn't figure out something was not wanting to work. And I apologize, Stephen, because we were supposed to do this last week and I just wasn't feeling well and we had to reschedule. And of course the internet gods were not cooperating today. Did not want to play. But we'll get into the story. Stephen, tell us how you put it together.
Well, I was diagnosed with HIV in 2006 after having my drink spiked in a pub and I was raped. So I kind of, the rapes for me seemed like the worst thing that could happen. And then a few months later, I found out I had HIV. So it was really a very, very dark time for me. And I spent 2 years really just wanting to die. I didn't want to be here, Daniel. I just thought, you know, I'd grown up knowing about this disease and it just, the thought of having it was just really felt like too much for a lot of the time, you know. But I found my way through 2 years, through different things, through music. I listened to a lot of Whitney Houston songs, you know, Whitney Houston on repeat for a lot of time. And I looked at YouTube and looked at who was talking about HIV. And really there wasn't a lot of people talking about HIV at all. But there were a few people, and those few people were lifesavers to me. And needless to say, as the years have gone on, I decided that I should start a YouTube channel, and I did that 2 years ago.
Now, there's the factual side of why we start advocating. We all, like in my case, there was not a lot of information for the Hispanic community, so I felt I needed to do it. But there's that emotional side. There's that fire inside. What was it for you that, because it's once you're out there and your face is out there, you can't take it back.
Yeah.
So what was the desire inside of you that made you do it?
I'd been an actor for 20 years previous to this, and I needed something to help me heal. And what helped me heal was writing. I started writing about my life, about the things that had happened to me. I wrote about the rape, about the HIV, and that was a very healing thing for me. And my writing ended up becoming a one-man show, which ran in New York for 6 months. And I realized what power my story had and other people's story has. And it was really amazing for me, because I just was like, to me, it was just my life story, and it didn't seem that important or that powerful. But when I stood on stage and told it, I realized that other people started telling their stories, and it was just like, it seemed to open these doors. And once I'd finished doing my one-man show, I kind of wondered for a couple of years, what do I do next? And YouTube, seemed to be the next step for me.
What has been, I usually ask the biggest, but I think I'm going to change the question now. What has been the most impactful change for you through this whole process?
For me, as far as HIV is concerned,
And putting yourself out there and telling your story.
I think probably just the realization that the shame that I had has gone. Even when I started this, there was still fear and shame and, what will people think? That has gone. I'm very proud of who I am, where I am, and what I've done, and that has all come from me telling my story, and from the channel, and from the way that people have interacted and things like that. So I think that's the biggest thing for me.
Now you're in London, and I'm here in America. You're a white man. I'm Hispanic. I didn't ask you your background, but I guess that you're in London. I'm there. Is there a universal connection other than the obvious HIV? But is there something else that connects stories from one country to another?
Yeah, because I think it's amazing how similar they are, and how many people have experienced similar things to you or I. People can connect with parts of my story, things that happened in my childhood or things like that. So it's amazing how many connections there seems to be, a lot more than I had realized. And I've only done my show in the States and in the UK, but I feel that it is a universal thing. It's that thing that we can all connect on, that wherever your story or my story is told, that there are going to be those connections.
Right, because I feel like the fear, the shame, the self-loathing, it all carries, no matter what country you are in, no matter what the person's background.
Yeah, a lot of people, after I'd done my show, they would tell me their stories, and and I've had people email me from, South Africa to Nigeria to Jamaica to wherever it might be, and stories all have a similar, similar underline of the fear or the shame or the, just the hatred of yourself for a time being, and yeah, it's pretty similar, I think.
Now, rape as a whole, it's talked about quite a bit, but rape for men or on men is not not that it's not as common, it's just not shared as much. How has it helped you to be able to share?
You're right, definitely about it not being talked about. I still have problems here with getting people to talk about it and recognize it, but it's helped because, again, I've told my story, and it's amazing how many, guys have emailed me and said, I've gone through the same thing as you. So it's just like, whoa, I'm not the only one that this has happened to, and not that I want it to happen to other guys, but it does happen, and it is out there, and it just the fact that other guys are saying, I've been there, I know what you've gone through. It's just the kind of it's just a kind of reassurance that you're not alone.
Right. Can we talk about your support group, people around you a little bit? How's that work?
It's been interesting. When I was first diagnosed, I didn't tell anybody for 2 years.
Wow.
So just because of the way I felt about it, and my fear of how they would, cope with it. Over the years, telling people, some people have dealt with it very well, and other people have just fallen apart with it, and not coped. And the fact that I wanted to talk about it has been an issue for some friends, So it's not been the easiest journey in that sense, because a lot of people's fears about what will happen to me or what people might think, are up there, and I understand them, but at the same time, I just feel that it's something that I've got to do.
Right. I think that I've been fortunate enough to go to several advocate conferences and meet other people, and one of the universal things that I find is it's not just about doing the work, it's a need. There's this inside need to do it. Like some people have the need to dance,
Yeah.
others to sing. I need to talk about HIV, and it's just an important part of my life.
Yeah.
It's been over 35 years now.
Yeah.
In your opinion, and if you could look in the crystal ball, what's it going to take for us to get the message to people about being safe and taking care? And
I think I remember, when I was growing up, Daniel, it was in the news. Freddie Mercury died when I was 13 or 14. Rock Hudson died a couple of years later. So it was there were names and people dying from it. So it was obviously something that I grew up being very afraid of. But then, I definitely think that we're at fault for not being talked about enough. I don't know if it's the same in LA, where you are, but in the UK, there are organisations talking about it, but it needs to be up there as one of those things that we need to. I think that we need to find a cure for. We need to stop this, and I just don't think there's the importance behind it as there used to be,
right.
Because not as many people are dying from it, like it was. So I think, yeah, I just think I would like to be able to, you know, kick somebody up the backside and say, right, we need to start making this an important key thing again, you know, because people don't need to be getting HIV anymore, especially with U equals U. You know, it's such an amazing step forward for us as people living with HIV, that we're not a risk. You know, if we're undetectable, we are not a risk, and it's just getting that word and that out there, you know, to people.
Okay, so I'm going to play devil advocate for a minute, because you just mentioned U equals U, and then we have PrEP. So there's also there's all these ways to take care of ourselves better, to manage better, and not just take care of ourselves as positive, but to take care of our partners or people who are negative.
Yeah.
So a devil advocate moment would be, well, then why are we so afraid if there's different ways to take care of it? Why do we still need to talk about it?
Because I think the 80s and 90s is always going to stay with people, and you know, and the negative side of it. I think the fear. I think HIV and AIDS there was a lot of fear behind it, and unfortunately, people are still holding on to that, and I think that's the problem. Because although there's PrEP, although there's you know, U equals U, people still don't seem to accept and understand, and especially in countries where, you know, there isn't the support, the healthcare and things like that. So yeah.
Yeah. And for those of you that are watching or listening and are not familiar with the terms we're talking about, U equals U is undetectable equals untransmittable, which the technical side of it is any person who is HIV positive, but his viral load is so low that it's undetectable, cannot infect somebody else. So for those of us who have been living with HIV for a long time, undetectable was just meant that their viral load was very low. But now we have that, I guess, extra bonus where we are not, the possibilities of infecting somebody is minimal. So that's a great step forward for those of us who were maybe keeping ourselves from relationships, keeping ourselves from sex, from any kind of human contact sometimes, because people can get to an extreme. But that's what U equals U is basically about. You can Google it and find a longer definition and more info, but that's the basics. And then PrEP is post-exposure prophylaxis, which is actually a pill that HIV negative people can take on a daily basis to keep their cells protected from being infected or from hosting an HIV cell. And those are one of the most common pills you hear mentioned also as Truvada. And you might want to talk to your doctor about that. If you are sexually active or have a partner who's HIV positive and want that extra layer of protection, PrEP is a great to go. You still could use condoms. It doesn't protect from STDs or pregnancy, but check with your doctor and Google for more information, just so that you understand the terms. Okay, another devil advocate moment, because here's my thought. I've stood by this for a long time, that it was precisely why, because we didn't have that extra layer of fear, that because we were managing our symptoms, we were managing HIV, we were living longer, that people started to think, oh, well, there's no more danger, and the barriers came down. For many years, we weren't talking to students or young adults about prevention and protection. We kind of let our guards down a little bit and saying, oh, we're going to get there. But we didn't. I feel like it's just as well, I'm 45. I'm not sure how old you are.
46.
46. So we're in the same group. I feel like there for a little while we dropped the ball. We got comfortable, or we got into living our lives again, that we forgot to share the messages with other people. Does that make sense?
Yeah. I did the New York Department of Education sponsored my show for a while when I was in New York, and I would go in and talk to students, and yeah, a lot of the teachers would say to me, "This is the first time anybody has come in and done this for years," So that I agree with you. I think there was, there was that safety barrier for us all, which everybody went, "Okay, we don't need to worry now," and it has changed. The way we treat the virus, what the virus does, it has changed, since treatment has come in. But it's still something that people don't need to get, and that's how I feel about it. I'm just like, you don't need to get this, and there's so many things to stop, people getting it now, that it's just, I kind of feel, don't put yourself through getting HIV to become, somebody else that has to talk about it,
Another statistic. Okay, let's get off the soapbox for a little bit, because I want to talk about you. We can go on this for hours and hours. I'm sure. I have to get like a whole pot of coffee ready for me. Let's talk about you. How's your health doing, and what has happened over the years?
Okay, my health has been complicated because I was diabetic from birth.
Okay.
And I'm 46 now, so for all those years of being diabetic, it's another one of those illnesses that is quite tough. It's quite a tough illness, and it can really ravage a body if it's not looked after properly. And my diabetes was fine for years, and then about 10 years ago, I really got into problems. So I had a transplant 3.5 years ago. My pancreas was transplanted, and the pancreas is the organ that produces insulin. Because I'd got to a point where I was so unwell that I needed, it was kind of, transplant was it was that, or I wasn't going to make it, so, and the transplant was amazing, and it worked for 3 years. But then unfortunately it failed, just before Christmas. So I'm dealing with the problems that have come from having an organ that has failed and becoming diabetic again. So I've had problems. I've had, quite a lot of problems with my health just in the last couple of years, so it's been, emotionally, it's been quite hard, because, being sick is not something that, is easy. I think, it's to be long-term sick. It's kind of been tough.
Yeah. I think people forget that there's all these secondary, I say secondary and I giggle because there's thirds and fourths and fifths. It doesn't just stop because, I was diagnosed in 2000. I stopped drinking and doing drugs. I got clean in 2006. But then in 2015, I had anal cancer and myostomy, and now I'm dealing with diabetes.
Oh, you got diabetes?
Yeah, I was just diagnosed this year.
Right.
Plus my anxieties and my depressions and cholesterol and high blood pressure and heart murmur. And I'm like, I'm a walking dictionary of illnesses. Like, you can't one up me. Like, you can't beat me. How, despite everything that goes on in your body, and before I ask that question, has anything mental happened? Depression, anxiety?
Definitely. I found the last couple of months hard, because I've had a real problem with nausea and vomiting, and it's kind of cut me off from friends and from doing social things. So that's been hard, but I've had my channel, and I've got my 2 cats, Gracie and Gus, which they've been so good, I realized how good, pets can be for your mental health, so I've kept my head above water, but yeah, I have found it difficult.
Because I know from a lot of people that I've talked to here, when your body doesn't want to cooperate, mental health usually starts right there. Anxiety, depression, frustration, whatever. So, but with the good support system, it's very manageable. So that's a good thing. Now I forgot the other thing I was going to ask. I'll come back to it. I know we're going to run low, but we're going to, I'm sorry. We're going to have to come back and do a second episode with you.
Yep.
Because we're not even going to scrape the surface. This is just a teaser for everybody out there. If you're a Hart fan, you're going to be like, what? No. He's coming back for a second one now that we have him on Zoom. He was having a little technical difficulties.
Yeah.
You know those third world countries like England. It's hard to get internet over there. But usually I ask my guests to share some words of wisdom with my listeners. So, Stephen Hart, what words of wisdom do you have?
I think we all need to realize that we have a story, and our story is important. And whether it's like you and I telling our story, on the internet, or whether it's writing it, or whether it's performing it in song, whatever way we tell our story, that's okay, and that's allowed, and I just think it's important to feel free to tell our story, and you don't have to tell your story, but if you want to, I just think it's important to do it.
So you talk about the story. We still have about 10 minutes to go. So you talk about your story. If in the book of Stephen Hart, what would be the last sentence?
That's a $6 million question. I think it would probably be, let's see what's next.
Cool.
Yeah, because my life has taken so many like yours. My life has taken so many twists and turns, and I am somewhere where I didn't think I would be, and I never really know what's round the corner. But we'll see.
People, I get it a lot of times from people when we talk about HIV and how long I've been diagnosed, and I was diagnosed with AIDS when I was diagnosed, and actually my last numbers were 400, which is the highest number I've had in 18 years. I was amazed. I was like, you have the wrong results. Those are not mine. And people usually are like, oh my God, 18 years. Like, oh, I feel for you. And I'm like, no. You don't realize the places I've been because of HIV. You don't realize the people I've met because of it. What has been up to now one of the greatest adventures you've had because of diagnosis?
I think it definitely has been going to Amsterdam a few weeks ago to the U pre-conference, and it was just amazing to be in this room with all these people, and they were all there for the same reason. They were all there to learn. They were all there to share. They were all there to experience what was going on with U, and for me, because I'm pretty new at doing this, so for me it was amazing. I was like a kid in a candy store, It was just like all these people were so passionate about it, and I hadn't really experienced that before. Because doing YouTube is great, but you're usually sitting alone in front of a camera. So to meet these people and for some of them to say, we watch your channel, we love Hart Talks, and things like that. And it's like, gosh, it's amazing how we are a community, and I think that's been the most amazing thing for me.
If HIV was a real person and you can give it a message, what message would you give it?
Watch out. Watch out, because, there have been so many steps forward with the way that we treat HIV, and I really do believe that one day we're going to banish this disease. It's going to be gone, you know. And yeah, so I would be telling it to be careful.
So before we go, tell people about, you just said the YouTube, and I had it in my head. Hart
Talks.
Hart Talks. That's right.
Yeah.
I knew that. And tell people about Hart Talks, where they can find you and how they get in touch with you.
So my channel is Hart Talks because my second name is Hart. So and yeah, it's on YouTube, and there's also a Facebook group, and basically it's just me being me, taking you on my journey of life with HIV, but also just everyday life, you know, because there's so much more to me than HIV. And my childhood, you know, my childhood was pretty rough, and I was adopted, and there was alcohol, and, you know, there's a lot of bad stuff in my early childhood. So I talk about those things because I think that they're important to talk about as well. So it's kind of, there's a real mixed bag of stuff that you'll get on my channel. But yeah, Hart Talks on YouTube.
And for everybody that follows me on my show, don't worry, we're going to have him back. I will coordinate with him to have him back so we can hear about his story. But meanwhile, I invite you to go check him out. I was introduced to your channel at a conference, and that's how I connected. And I was like, oh my God, this guy's adorable. Like, I want to have him on my show. You got to have him. And again, I was like, because of the time difference. A lot of folks think it's really easy to connect, but there's time differences, and
Yeah.
a good time for you is like 6 o'clock in the morning for me. And I'm like, I love you, Stephen, but I'm not getting up at 6 o'clock in the morning for you. Unless you're knocking at my door with breakfast, I'm not getting up. But please come back on the show and
Yeah, definitely.
Your story. For those of you who have been listening today, we have Stephen Hart all the way from England talking about his show, Hart Talks. We talked a little bit about Amsterdam, a little bit of his life, but we're going to do a follow-up show so we can have a whole hour of Stephen. We only got a little part of it. Don't go away. Let me just say goodbye to everybody. Okay. And for everybody listening, thank you for listening and watching our show. I want to thank, as usual, my producer, Mr. Kevin Moyers, for all his help and support. Thank you, sir. Go check us out at normalentertainment.com, where you can find all the shows on the network. There's something there for you. Check me out at Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, and YouTube at Little Mexican, or at I am Daniel G. Garza. Find me on there. Go check out. There's information on what I'm doing, what my guests have been doing, updates on everybody. You can find all the interviews, 6 years worth of interviews. Go check them out. For now, I want to thank y'all for listening. Thank you, Stephen, for being on the show.
Thank you for having me.
This is Daniel Garza saying, hey, put it together.
This is how I put it together. This is how I put it together. This is how I put it together.
Subscribe to Put It Together on iTunes, Stitcher, and at abnormalentertainment.com/putittogether. Find Put It Together on Facebook and tweet Daniel at Lil Messican, LILMESICAN. And for more podcasts, comics, books, movies, and more, head to abnormalentertainment.com.
You've been listening to the Abnormal Entertainment Network.